Good morning. It's time for our daily devotion. I heard this phrase a couple of times over the last few days: hurting people hurt people. I know I've understood that concept before, probably for a long, long time, but I don't know that I've heard it put exactly that way. Hurting people hurt people. Now, you wouldn't think it'd be that way. That seems kind of counterintuitive to me. It seems to me that someone who's wounded or hurting or damaged in some way would be especially sensitive to not hurting other people. But believe me, that's not the way it works. You may have a pet, a dog or a cat, or maybe you've had one in the past, and it's the most loving animal in the world, and it sits on your lap, and you pet it, and you feed it, and you take care of it, and it goes with you wherever you go. But you let that cat or that dog get injured, and all bets are off. They will behave in a way that is totally uncharacteristic, and they will forget all about the great things you've done for them, and they may lash out and bite you. They may scratch you. Because they're hurting and they act in a way that's not normal. Hurting people do the same thing. I believe as the body of Christ and as believers, part of our responsibility and privilege is to minister to hurting people. And most of us are hurting at one point or another in time, or at one place or another in our life. We're hurting. And so if we can learn to minister to one another, we can alleviate a lot of the future hurt that happens, because when we are healed and well and our wounds have been taken care of, we are less likely to strike out and hurt someone else. So if that's the truth, then I believe we have to learn to recognize hurting people. Now, I'm going to give you 3 very quick guidelines. This is not all inclusive. These do not always hold true. There are other reasons these things can happen, but they should be red flags to us. And so as you are dealing with people, having a relationship with people, working with people, going to church and school with people, watch for these 3 things. First of all, hurting people are reluctant to share honestly. These many times are the people who, when you ask how they are, oh, I'm great, things are wonderful, things are great. But you can see in their eyes, you can see in their demeanor, you can see in their body language, the way they carry themselves, you can see that things really aren't great. But hurting people are reluctant to say, well, I'm really hurting. I've really been hurt by someone. I've got a situation in my life that's very painful. And none of us like to do that. Most of us aren't that transparent, that honest, that open with people. And so what we do instead is we pretend everything is okay. So watch for someone who is reluctant to share honestly. They say they're fine, but they really don't appear to be fine. Secondly, hurting people refuse to participate socially. I can't go out with the gang after work today because I've got too much work to do. I don't want to go to that party because I don't have anything to wear. They always have an excuse why they don't want to participate socially. And the reason is because when they get in a social situation, their hurt may become apparent, or they may feel pressured to share what's going on in their life when they are too intimate with other people. And so they withdraw from social gatherings in order to not have to share. Now, sometimes they're in a public place, don't get me wrong. They may be at church, but sitting alone on the pew. They may be at work, but they're in their cubicle all holed up by themselves. They may be at school, but when everybody else is sitting at a table eating lunch, they're sitting off by themselves. So hurting people refuse to participate socially. And then lastly, and this is the one we don't really like to talk about, and that is that hurting people generally recite rumors and gossip about other people in order to inflict pain on them so that they are not alone in their misery. Now, again, I know we don't like to think this way about people. I'm not accusing people. I'm just telling you that lots of experience has told me that people who are hurting have a tendency to lash out and hurt other people. And I think the reason is misery loves company. Now, that's not the way God intended for us to be. It's not what Jesus wants for our life. It's not the way the family of God ought to behave. But we're also human, and those things happen. And we all act this way from time to time. Husbands and wives act this way toward each other. Church members act this way toward each other. Family members, sons and daughters and parents act this way toward each other. We hurt people when we're hurt. So when you see someone who's doing one of these things, they're reluctant to share honestly, they refuse to participate socially, they recite these rumors and gossip about people, you can probably take a pretty good guess that they're hurting. What do? You love them. You love them unconditionally. You don't pry. You don't accuse them of not being honest about their feelings. You just love them. Continue to pat them on the back, encourage them, love them. If you do that long enough, believe me, they will eventually open up to you about the hurt. You have an opportunity to sow into their life some real love and maybe direct them to someone who can help them past whatever they're going through. And it'll be a better day for them. It'll be a better day for you. So love someone who's hurting today. Make it a great day. And I'll see you next time.